After September 11th, Americans were asking a very human question. Why? Why would someone hate us enough to do this? And at the time, President Bush gave us an answer. He told us that they hate us for our freedoms. And for a lot of people, that answer stuck. Commentators like Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro took it one step further. You see, they said it had nothing to do with politics or history. It's just radical Islam. This is what they do. It's in their nature. But you see, here's the problem with that answer. If it's just in their nature, then there's nothing to learn. There's just nothing to change, and there's no way this ever ends. We will just be stuck fighting people who hate us for no reason forever. I'm a veteran and an MBA and just a student of history and politics, and I've been covering this war almost every day since it began. I think we owe it to every service member in harm's way today and for those who've sacrificed in the past to ask a harder question. What if that answer was wrong? What if the reason that Iran has been hostile to the United States for over 70 years has nothing to do with our freedoms, nothing to do with religion, and everything to do with what our government did over there? Because that history exists. It's documented, the CIA has confirmed it, but not many Americans know it. It starts in 1953. Iran had a democratically elected leader named Mohammad Mossadegh. He was popular, secular, and had one big idea, which was that Iranian oil should benefit Iranians. So he nationalized it, and Britain was furious. The CIA, under President Eisenhower, launched a covert operation called Operation Ajax. They paid protesters, they bribed military officers, and they ran a disinformation campaign that ultimately resulted in the overthrow of Iran's elected government. Then they installed a US-backed dictator, the Shah, that ran a secret police and tortured people and disappeared them over the next 26 years. The CIA confirmed all of this in 2013, that we overthrew a democracy for oil interests. And every Iranian alive knew that America did this. So, in 1979, the revolution came, and the Iranian people overthrew the Shah. And when they stormed the US embassy, kidnapping 52 people and holding them hostage for 444 days, that wasn't random. They knew what that building represented because was essentially the nerve center of the 1953 backed coup. Now, then a little-known dictator with a penchant for berets and mustaches named Saddam Hussein invaded Iran. And the US backed Saddam with intelligence and weapons and finances and diplomatic cover, even after Saddam had used chemical weapons on Iranian soldiers. Up to 1 million Iranians were unalived or wounded in that war, with us helping the other side. In 1988, a US warship shot down an Iranian passenger plane. 290 civilians were unalived, 66 of which were children. And we said it was a mistake, but we also never apologized, and the captain was awarded a commendation medal. So by the time you get to the 90s, Iran has watched us topple their democracy, install a dictator who tortures their people, armed their enemy with chemical weapons, and shoot down a passenger plane without even apologizing. That's not ancient history to them, it's lived memory. Fast forward to 2015, something kind of remarkable happens under Obama. Iran came to the table and signed the JCPOA, a nuclear deal that capped uranium enrichment, reduced centrifuges, and adhered to the most strict international inspections on any country. And in exchange, we gave them sanctions relief. The IAEA, which is the essentially International Atomic Energy something, they inspected Iran's facilities every year, and Iran held up their end of the deal. However, the good times wouldn't last long because in 2018, Trump tore up the deal. Not because Iran had violated it, as I mentioned, they hadn't, but he just thought it was a bad deal. I think he thought he was the deal maker and he could make a better deal than Obama. Then in 2025, negotiations started again, and Iran's foreign minister said that a historic agreement was within reach. Oman was mediating and both sides were at the table. Then in early 2025, Trump began negotiations again, giving Iran a 60-day deadline to reach a deal. Iran came to the table. The talks were described as making real progress, and then while those negotiations were still ongoing, the United States and our greatest ally launched Operation Midnight Hammer. B-2 bombers launched bunker buster bombs at 3 nuclear sites in Iran and totally obliterated their nuclear capabilities, or so we're told. Negotiations eventually resumed, and by February of 2026, talks in Geneva were described by mediators as showing unprecedented openness. Iran's foreign minister again said that a historic agreement was within reach. And on February 28th, 2 days after those Geneva talks, the US and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury. We unalived the supreme leader, and here we are. 3 times Iran came to the table, and 3 times they got bombed instead of a deal. And on the very first day of the war, a U.S. Tomahawk missile hit a little girls' school in Manab. We unalived 165 students, children aged 7 to 12. And we were responsible for that. We are responsible for that. And that fact cannot be memory holed, no matter how many times the news cycle tries to move on. And I want to be clear, I'm not defending the Iranian government. They are horrible to their people. They've massacred protesters and clamped down on any sort of self-expression and freedom. None of that is okay. But you cannot solve a problem that you refuse to understand. And we've been refusing to understand this for 70 years. Also, what I believe as an American are that the ideals that this country was founded on are worth believing in. Human dignity, freedom, and the sanctity of life. But aspiring to those ideals means being honest when we've fallen short. Because here's the thing about being the good guys, and I do believe America can be the good guys. Good guys don't get to selectively apply their values when it's convenient. You can't claim that you stand for freedom and democracy as you overthrow democracies. You can't claim you want peace while bombing people during negotiations. You can't claim to value human life and then memory hole 165 children. If you want to stop these wars from happening in the future, and if we want to actually be what we say we are, then we have to be honest about when we haven't been. Because it's the only way we will ever stop repeating this. Every service member over there right now deserves a government that is honest about why they are there. And so do we. So follow for more daily analysis and let me know in the comments below. Did you know about any of this before today?